Welcome to Musings, a series where I ramble on endlessly about my thoughts and opinions on RPGs, villains, and fighting games. Before we get into the video proper, there's something that has to be said. Don't attack or harass people over liking or not liking a game or any piece of media. That's bad. I feel like this shouldn't be something I have to say, but the internet is a place that doesn't make sense if you stop and think about it. I want to start this video by saying I did not go into Baldur's Gate 2 expecting or wanting to hate it. I loved Baldur's Gate 1 Enhanced Edition. I love the CRPG genre, but Baldur's Gate 2 made me question if I did for a while. After all, Baldur's Gate 2 is hailed as one of, if not the greatest CRPG of all time, by Baldur's Gate fans and by CRPG fans in general. There is no one issue I can point to where I can go, aha! That's why I don't like or can't get into Baldur's Gate 2. And if you changed the thing, I'd be able to enjoy it. It's a lot of little things that on their own wouldn't hamper my experience or my enjoyment of the work all that much. But there's so many of these little things, and they have such a constant presence that it often feels as all of these issues compound on each other, like the game is doing everything in its power to make me hate it. I've attempted to play through Baldur's Gate 2 5 times now, and every time I put the game down around the same point. And then some months later I'll get the urge to play an old classic, replay Baldur's Gate 1, get to Baldur's Gate 2, and the cycle continues anew. Which is why I've chosen this to be the first topic of this series. I'll be tackling my issues with Baldur's Gate in order of least to most annoying. I also must state my experiences with the Vanilla Enhanced Edition, which from all the research I've done, is just a more convenient version to play. Doesn't have much new that you couldn't get by playing the original with a bit of modding. In other words, the script, the combat, and the bugs are the same as the original, just updated to fit a wide screen for better or worse. Because I don't want this video to be overtly negative, I want to talk about what I enjoyed about it before I get into all the aspects that I didn't, and why I'll never finish it. I must stress that I do not believe Baldur's Gate 2 is a bad game. It wouldn't be so well loved if it was, and it wouldn't have a 95 critic score and a 91 user score on Metacritic. First, the story. There will also be spoilers for Baldur's Gate 2 and DOS 2, so if you care about that, this is your only warning. It's really good. I didn't enjoy it as much as Planescape Torment, Divinity Original Sin 2, Dragon Age Origins, KOTOR 2, etc., but it's still really good. David Warner as John Irenicus, and Ball pretending to be John Irenicus, is awesome. He absolutely sells both of these characters. In fact, if Irenicus is in Baldur's Gate 3, I really hope he reprises his role. And when Ball inevitably has speaking lines in Baldur's Gate 3, I would hope he has Warner's voice as well, because Ball's non-Irenicus voice sounds terrible. It's like a stereotypical monster voice from a bad Power Rangers season. Irenicus Ball is a fantastic antagonist, with so many memorable lines of dialogue.
Life is strength. This is not to be contested. It seems logical enough. You live, you affect your world. But is it what you need? You are different inside. This woman lives and has strength of a sort. She lost her parents to plague, her husband to war, but she persevered. Her farm has prospered, her name is respected, and her children are fed and safe. She lived as she thought she should. And now she is dead. Her land will be divided, her children will move on, and she will be forgotten. She lived a good life, but she had no power. She was a slave to death. I wonder if you are destined to be forgotten. Will your life fade in the shadow of greater beings? You are born of murder, the very essence of that which takes life. You have power if you wish it. Really, but the consequences are so very real. Your actions affect so many others than yourself, you will come to realize how little choice you have. You will do what you must, become what you must, or others will pay for your cowardice. You will accept the gifts offered to you.
I enjoy the art design of Baldur's Gate 2. The stylized pre-rendered backgrounds of the Infinity Engine games really make the game stand out to me. I look at Baldur's Gate 2 and I instantly know the area it came from, for better or worse, though for the most part for the better in my opinion. The streets of Irenicus' dungeon, the Asylum, all awesome locations, though looking back, Baldur's Gate 2 is a bit too much gray and brown, and if not for the level topography being distinct from area to area, it would have all blended together in my mind. The game also has an obsession with having you fight enemies in a linear corridor. Baldur's Gate 1 and 3 are significantly more colorful and varied games, but for the story Baldur's Gate 2 is trying to tell, and the environments you're in, they make it work. Apparently a lot of people hate the first dungeon. I am not one of those people. Outside of the atrocious exposition, something BioWare was notoriously bad at in the early days.
I'm Trask Ulgo, ensign with the Republic Fleet. I'm your bunkmate here on the Endar Spire. We work opposite shifts. I guess that's why you haven't seen me before. Now hurry up! We have to find Bastila. We have to make sure she makes it off the ship alive. You swore an oath to protect Bastila when you signed up with this mission, just like everyone else in the crew. Now it's time to make good on that oath. I know she may not have an official rank in the fleet, but she's the one in charge of this mission, and it's our duty to protect her. I know all about your reputation, how you used to smuggle spice and blasters along the Corellian run. I guess the Republic figured since they couldn't catch you, they might as well hire you. And I'll admit, the Republic is in desperate need of someone with your kind of skills. Desperate enough to overlook your shady past. But now that you signed on for this mission, you're part of the Republic fleet, and Bastila needs all troops at her side during this attack.
I love this introductory segment. Baldur's Gate 2 and 3's openings are actually very similar, and I love both. In both games, you are captured, locked in a terrifying nightmare fuel-inducing place, being experimented on by a powerful being you have no hopes of defeating or overpowering. They've done something to you, or at least trying to, but you don't know what, and your captor has no real interest or need to explain it to you. Then D&D lore shit starts happening, and your captor's attentions are occupied in such a way that allows you to escape. Then you explore the nightmare-fueled dungeon, filled with tormented souls, strange creatures, and advanced otherworldly technology, picking up party members as you go.
Wake up, you. Wake up! Come on! We have to get out of here.
Free. Our freedom is ours, friend. Us. We are us.
Minsk will be free. These bonds will not hold my wrath, but will be liberally kicked in good measure.
To hell we go.
The bars, they bend and
We are
twist
going
with my
to the
berserker
home.
strength. Minsk and Boo are free. No, you will not. No. Ooh.
Blackith blesses me this day.
Oh, you are a
Together,
smart one.
we
I
might survive.
understand now.
Imps block the path
You said
forward.
what you did just
You will
to get
assist
me
me in
mad.
destroying them.
Mad enough to
We
break
must
free.
reach the helm before we
You
transform.
are as smart as Boo sometimes.
Quickly, we must get out of here before whoever did this returns. I
Who
swear,
am I?
traveling with you is
Your
never
only
dull.
chance of survival.
Sanity in all this
And
madness.
you mine.
If you are not in
though it
league with the
pains me to
evil
say
that
it.
dwells in this unholy place, Yoshimo begs your assistance.
At the end of the dungeon, you encounter your captor. A third party gets involved, stopping you from coming to blows with an antagonist you had no real hopes of winning against anyway. Your captor is preoccupied with the new third party, and you kind of succeed in escaping. Welcome to the Forgotten Realms. Explore the world. I have more to say about Baldur's Gate 3's opening dungeon, but I think that's a topic for another CRPG Musings video. This is supposed to be an opinion piece on Baldur's Gate 2 after all. So I put it off long enough. Let's talk about why I'll never finish Baldur's Gate 2. The UI, while stylized and unique, is difficult for me to discern what I'm looking at, and even more difficult to navigate. It was a small issue I had with Baldur's Gate 1, but it was exasperated in the sequel, as my spell list as a mage cleric was massive. Dragon Age Origins and Divinity Original Sin 2, both games I will praise until the day I die, have significantly cleaner and more easier to read and manipulate UI. I had pages and pages of spells that I couldn't edit or move around, and was getting exhausting having to flip through my spellbook to find the one spell I felt like casting in that moment in combat. Also, every spell being either the color blue or the color red made them difficult to distinguish at a glance, compared to Divinity Original Sin 2's icons that are all so distinct you can recognize them at a glance. You could say, well, don't play a spellcaster. If I'm not playing a spellcaster in your fantasy RPG, I will not be happy. I'm not going to tell people that only like playing fighters in RPGs, that hate how fighters play in Dragon Age Origins, to go play a mage. My issues with the UI even extend to the lore of the game. I read every single book, letter, note, everything I get my hands on in both DOS 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. Why? Because the UI those games use for reading these things is easy for me to see. They don't put all the information on a single page and make you scroll through it. Dragon Age had the same problem as Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. I started my Dragon Age Origins LP wanting to read everything, and then quickly realized that wasn't going to work out for the same reason. I'm not sure if this is just an old game thing or a BioWare thing. Instead of putting all the information on a single page you scroll through, Larian put a digestible chunk on one page, and if there is more that I need to see, there is a button that takes me to a second or third page. I have not been able to read through a single one of Baldur's Gate 1 or 2's lore books and letters because I have to strain my eyes to even look at the text. I do commend the game for having a font size option, but it unfortunately didn't help with my problem. And part of the reason it didn't help is because there's no option for line spacing. For comparison, I had zero interest in the Forgotten Realms setting after playing Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. For, according to Steam, a combined total of 251 hours. Baldur's Gate 3's early access made me care about the world and its characters within its 25 hours significantly more. In fact, as a result of playing Baldur's Gate 3, I occasionally engage in wiki diving, random Forgotten Realms lore, watching D&D content creator videos, and it even reinvigorated my interest in the stories of the previous two titles. I'm not the biggest fan of real-time with pause games. I'm not gonna hide that fact. Not every gameplay style is meant for everyone. Baldur's Gate 2 does several things that even if I liked the style of gameplay, I would still be turned off from it. In Final Fantasy XII, or Dragon Age Origins, you can set parameters so that the AI responds in a competent fashion when you aren't controlling them. In Dragon Age, as far as the Let's Play that's been going on the channel is concerned, I'm actually having a really good time playing it, despite not being all that enthused about real-time with pause as a style of play. More parts of Dragon Age Origins will be going up on the channel eventually, I swear. In Final Fantasy XII, a complaint some have levied against it is that the Gambit system is so good you can practically get the game to play itself. I have the opposite complaint about Baldur's Gate 2. Your AI settings in BG2 are way too limited, and having to stop and manage the actions of 6 people plus summons all the time was exhausting me. In fact, exhausting is a good word to describe my experience with Baldur's Gate 2. But it still probably wouldn't be as big a deal for me if combat was more reasonably paced throughout the entire adventure. In Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, every combat encounter is a specifically handcrafted puzzle designed to test your knowledge of the game, its mechanics, as well as to inform you about the world. Combat in the Divinity games is also slower paced, and methodical by design and intent. As a result of this gameplay narrative interweaving in combination with the slower pace of combat, the designers at Larian chose to have combat be used sparingly, like a scalpel rather than a hacksaw. Quality over quantity. In fact, there are only 3 mandatory combat encounters in the entirety of Divinity Original Sin 2. Combat in Baldur's Gate 2 happens all the time, even in situations where I'd rather talk my way through and gain more information. The game goes, nah fam, you're fighting. For example, Jalos and Kayant, I think I'm saying that right, in Chapter 3. That encounter always ends in a fight no matter what. No matter how you play it, they always figure out you're a spy, no matter how clever you are or what options you pick. There are random encounters when you sleep in the wild, or in a dungeon when you travel a map. Probably saying right now, Damashi, you insufferable monotone twat. It's realistic. Realistic not equal to fun. And games should be fun.
If it's not fun, why bother?
Well, Dragon Age and Divinity have random encounters too. Well, actually no they don't. Every encounter in both games is scripted, and will only happen if you hit a trigger or a meta prerequisite to make it happen, giving the illusion that you're getting a random encounter. Enemies don't respawn in either games, but do in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. In KOTOR 1, there is only one planet, Tatooine, that has random encounters. And they're spaced out so that you aren't constantly fighting things and getting tired of it. My patience for random encounters in games has diminished over the years, especially when the encounter rate is too high. There's a reason I make a beeline for the Moogle Charm in FF6's World of Ruin nowadays as soon as I get the airship, so I can turn that shit off immediately. You probably noticed a distinct lack of BG2 footage for anything past the tutorial. I lack the patience to record any. And I feel weird about asking Baldur's Gate 2 content creators for footage of a game I don't like. The bugs. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god!
This game is a buggy mess. There were so many moments where one of my characters got stuck in a wall, and I couldn't progress without using console commands. There was a moment where a key I needed to progress disappeared from my inventory for no discernible reason, and I had to use console commands to put it back in. So many quest triggers broke for me that halted my progression. Jaheira's companion quest being the most egregious example, where I had to use so many console commands to make that quest complete like it was supposed to, that I eventually went, screw it, this is a cheat through now, on my most recent attempt to enjoy Baldur's Gate 2. Because I wanted to see the end of the game without having to look up what happens. Spoilers for how this tale ends. I had to do that anyway. I even swallowed my pride and turned on the difficulty down to easy, just to get a move on. Something I have never had to do with any game. The Pillars of Eternity 1 made me consider it after fighting the Outer Dragon. But that brings me to the final issue I have with the game. I and the writers or scripters just aren't on the same wavelength. This is the most difficult of my issues with the game to explain, but I believe the root of this particular issue I have with BG2 is that I played and finished DOS 2 first, and it has spoiled me for what a quality RPG can be. In BG2, there's a woman and a troll on the other side of a door in Nalia's companion quest. When you open the door, the troll will make a beeline for the woman, and will kill her in one hit as she screams. I saw that scripted sequence and went, but what if I succeeded in killing the troll before he could make it to her? I managed to do so after a few attempts, and I was heartbroken at what I saw. When I clicked on the woman, all I got was a sound clip of her screaming. The same scream I heard upon opening the door. I expected at bare minimum a thank you, a sigh of relief, something that showed me that the designers and I were on the same page. I immediately turned the game off there and did not play for months afterwards. To explain why this upsets me so much, I need to talk about Divinity Original Sin 2 for a bit. In Fort Joy, there's an Aerithurge mage that wants to break out of Fort Joy by using teleport on you and then having you teleport him. The quest is supposed to end with him double-crossing you and making a break for it on his own, leading to his death at the hands of the Magisters. However, the designers thought, what if the player does blank? At pretty much every step of the quest, where the player teleports him down to the beach instead of the cliff, the game recognizes that you are betraying him and has dialogue for it. What if the Magisters that would have killed him are dead? Then he'll run into some skeletons that once worked for the mad sorcerer king Brachus Rex and die. In the footage I recorded, I couldn't get it to happen. It might be as a result of the cheats I used to speed up the recording process. Pretend that he died here. What if those skeletons are dead? Then he'll run into the Alot marshes and be killed by an invisible force, at which point you can loot his pathetic corpse.
So you didn't want to have the simple quest where you have to go and fetch the mushroom for the imp. We wanted to have different solutions to all the mushrooms and all the different imps. What if you kill the imp? What if you already have a mushroom? What if you don't want to give him a mushroom?
A better example is in Act 2. Magister Waymond has some Black Ring members tied up and is planning to execute them. When the fight starts, the Magister next to him casts mass shackles of pain on the Black Ring cultists so that they take whatever damage he takes. I kill him in one turn because I'm using cheats to speed up the recording process, as I said before, so pretend he cast mass shackles of pain. The cultists have no physical or magical armor, and low health. They are very clearly intended to die here. However, the designers thought, but what if the player, against all odds, succeeded in saving them? Then you can talk to them for a little bit of extra information about what's going on. And if Nikor specifically survives this encounter, then he will reappear later in the game on the Nameless Isle and vouch for you with the Black Ring on the island. Want another example? There's a Lich you can free, and he goes off to eat people to regain his strength. If you leave him be long enough, he will eat a child at the end of his quest line. Most people don't know this, but if you talk to the Lich twice while you have Source, an option to offer him some of your source appears, and he will have enough strength to access his soul jar without devouring a child. Every single interaction in the game rewards the player for thinking outside the box, if they choose to do so. Very rarely do Larian RPGs tell the player, no, you can't do that. There's very little railroading. Current day Larian RPGs are like playing with a DM that says, roll for it. Whenever a player says, my character would like to do this really complex thing that shouldn't work. Baldur's Gate 2 is a game where I see John Irenicus in a room to the right, and I say to the DM, my character lunges at John Irenicus, and the DM's response is to instantly blurt out in response, without any rolls, rocks fall, the party dies. DOS 2 is a game where I see Dallas in the other room, and I say to my DM, my character lunges at Dallas. The DM's response is, you probably shouldn't, but okay. Roll for initiative. DOS 2 has forever tainted my ability to play Baldur's Gate 2, because on top of not having many of the things I complained about Baldur's Gate 2 for having, it also sets out to do what Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 were trying to do, but couldn't because of technical limitations. They were trying to be D&D if it was a computer game, and those games succeeded at the letter but not the spirit like DOS 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 do. Sven Vinke, Larian founder and CEO and game director, had this to say in an interview.
Yeah, so my next question, then I want to let Zeke and Co take a little bit of the reins, but Larian fans know what to expect from a Larian game. I think when I first played Divinity Original Sin 2, when I kind of jumped in, it was remarkable how easy it was to just poke around and mess with things and to create really unique situations, and then to be rewarded for it. Oftentimes, I think a lot of games don't do that. So with that said, is it more of the same for you guys with Baldur's Gate 3, or do you have to kind of change the DNA of what a Larian game is for an already established Baldur's Gate franchise?
It's a lot of things all in one question. So the Larian DNA is pretty much the tabletop. So in that sense, we don't have to change anything because it comes very naturally. We're very strong followers of systemic design. What we mean is we build systems, and we build systems on top of systems, and then we let you fool around with the systems to overcome the challenges that we put in the game. Our scripters are forbidden from putting situations in that are on the rails, so they have to do everything with the systems, because otherwise that formula doesn't work. And so, in that sense, it is it's a very natural thing. So, in the sense that when you look at the original Baldur's Gate games, they had systems, but they didn't have the systemic environmental interactions that we have, and that we can do now also with modern technology. So we have all of those things that we put on top of it. I'll give you an example from I do these reviews. So I play the game and then I tell what I think, and then the team has to follow up on some of these things. Yesterday I was dealing with in the Underdark. I'm approaching a temple that's heavily protected by some gargoyle heads that are shooting. I forgot what the solution was to the official solution to getting in, and so I cast fog clouds to hide myself in from the gargoyles, and it was their line of sight was broken, so I could actually bypass all of their tracks. And so I had two guys that were casting fog cloud next to fog cloud next to fog cloud, and like this I managed to bypass the entire thing. I felt super happy, also very, very clever, so that I had managed to bypass the entire trap. Nobody on the design team had ever thought of that solution, but since they followed the systemic design principles, where they had to make sure, okay, the gargoyles have to obey line of sight. If they're blinded, they're not going to be able to see anything. You're walking in the fog. It's creating an obstruction, and like this, I could solve the thing. And that's literally what we're trying to put throughout the entire game. And like this, I have many examples. But I hope that you guys are going to discover them, and you'll for sure discover things that we didn't think of.
Yeah, I mean that's like D&D 101 right there, right? Is you get a person in there that addresses a situation completely opposite of what you would, and then as a party you have to figure out how to move forward, right? So to be able to have that in like video game form is really impressive and honestly really exciting for sure to jump into.
I can think of no better words to end on. I hope you all enjoyed the first episode of RPG Musings. This video went on way longer than I thought it would and wanted it to, but I feel like I really had to go in depth as to why Baldur's Gate 2 just never clicked with me, like a lot of the other games in this genre did. If you enjoyed this and want to see more videos in this style, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. If other things coming as well, more RPG musings, let's plays, game critiques. I'll also be doing a let's play on Baldur's Gate 3's Early Access Patch 4, whenever that comes out. It was supposed to be out at the time of this recording, but Larian's QA team found a game-breaking bug, so they are delaying the patch until that gets sorted out. They said hopefully next week, so hopefully I get to bring you guys some Druid gameplay on the channel next week, assuming this video gets uploaded at the time that they said that. And also Opera Omnia content, if that piques your interest. I'd also appreciate comments and feedback on this style of video. It's something new I'm trying. Until next time, and welcome to the dream.